crazy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Unraveling podcast. Hello,
Hi.
Alyssa.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. Feel like it's been a wild morning,
Scrambling.
so laying around, I'm like getting up here and I'm like out of breath.
That's okay.
But ready to go.
I get it. It's been a long week. I
Same has
didn't
had
have
a
power
week.
for a week, and now it's back. So we're good. We're ready
Montana
to
life
roll.
is it's rough. Montana life is real rough.
It is. And you know what's sad is I was like, we still don't even have it bad. Like we're out of power, but we had a generator, so we didn't
Mhm.
have lights or toilet, running water, but we were able to, like, have our fridge on, put on,
Right.
like, our air fryer. We were able to watch Christmas movie.
Yeah.
So we kept the kids busy with that, but it's just like, yeah, it's just crazy. So I'm very thankful to live in a time when we have
Power.
power. Yeah.
I know. I know when you don't have it, you're like, dang, like this is nice.
I know, because it's like people without power and no generator, it's like, what would we have done? We wouldn't have been able
Literally.
we just make PB&Js all week, I guess. I
Ugh,
don't know.
yeah, it's terrible. But
So
it's like your heater well, your what is that called? The furnace?
my
What do
wood
you have?
burning stove. Mhm.
Okay, so that is that what you use normally, like,
Mhm.
instead of your heater, basically?
Yeah, well, we have, like, little heaters, which so the warehouse is set up like, our rooms are in the back, and, like, where I'm at right now, this is on the other
Yeah.
side is the wood burning stove.
Uh-huh.
So, it puts off a ton of heat,
Mhm.
but without our heaters, the back will lose the heat super quickly.
Mhm.
So, we had to sleep out in the front room.
It's like you are living in, like, old times.
Little house my my mother-in-law sent me a meme or something that said, like, everybody in Montana right now, and it's just a picture of Little House on the
I
Prairie.
mean, basically.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
we're good. We're good now. So,
I'm so glad.
all right. This is, an episode that a lot of people wanted, so
Here we are.
here we are. We are living in the little season.
Here
So
we
here we
are.
go. So, we'll open it up reading, like, the portion of scripture that we get this from, and then we'll just
Perfect.
roll from it. Okay.
Okay.
You
I
wanna
have,
read
like,
it?
70 different things on my desk right
I
now.
know, me too.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not prepared. Okay. So, Revelation 20, verse 7. And when the 1,000 years are ended, Satan will be released from his prison and will come out to deceive the nations that are at the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them for battle. Their number is like the sand of the sea. And they marched up over the broad plain of the earth and surrounded the camp of the saints and the beloved city. But fire came down from heaven and consumed them. And the devil who had deceived them was thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur where the beast and the false prophet were, and they were tormented day and night forever and ever. So this is the time frame that we
Mm,
believe we're living in.
that's where we get it from. We're not
It's
just
not
pulling it out of
heretical.
thin air.
Just in case you weren't sure, this is the time people have to live in. So that's where we think we are. You know, it's
Mhm,
interesting. Somebody had asked, one of the questions was the second or the Ezra's connection. So
mhm,
if you aren't familiar, second Ezra's chapter 13 literally talks about this battle, and every time I read it, I just think of the second Ezra's chapter because it's
mhm.
literally talking about fire coming down, and
Yeah,
then God just like, "That's it, it's done." And so
yeah.
I just think if you haven't read all of second Esdras is, in my opinion, talking about the little season, like people living in that time. Like there's a spot in
Mhm.
it. I should have looked, but there's a spot in it too that it's like talking about. Have you read through it, Jamie?
I have read a few chapters, but I
But
no, you're
it
fine.
is in there's, like, a part in Second Esdras, I wanna say it's, like, 5 or 6, chapter 5 or 6, and it is talking about, like, it's talking about the people of this time, like, those who believed and never saw. It's something
Mhm.
like that, and so
Yeah,
it's just
like, we never had a
interesting.
chance. Mhm,
Yeah, but we still are believing him, so I
mhm.
just think it's really cool and definitely one of the books that should have been left in,
Yeah,
I'd say, in our
yeah,
Bibles.
and if you didn't listen to our last episode with, Madeline from Leaving Babylon, she's hasn't put it out yet, but she's been looking into, like, why they took it out, so that'll be really
Very
interesting.
interesting. Yeah. Mhm.
Um, So I think, like, it's hard to condense this because there's so much because you have to go basically back to, like, when Jesus was walking on the earth. Like,
Mhm.
that's kind of where it started even for us. Like, I think for both of us, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, I heard about Revelation 20, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Okay, this makes sense that we're living in this time," because I had so many, living in, like, the conspiracy world, seeing all these evils taking place and seeing all this deception. I was like, "What how does any of this make sense? How does it play into,
Mhm.
like, God's word? What like,
Right.
where are we?" And so
Mhm.
when I heard this, all those things kind of made sense. But then going back to the Gospels, which we'll probably read some verses right now, but going back to the Gospels and seeing Jesus literally tell them he's coming back to them was just like, okay, so if it like it makes sense we're in this time because if you can prove that Jesus kept his word and he came back and that, you know, 70 AD was what he was talking about, like everything just lines up so perfect. So I
Mhm.
think we should probably start there with, like, the Bible some of the Bible verses.
Okay, yeah. Um, well, like, the first one that, like, everybody talks about would be Matthew 24:34. Truly I say to you, this
Mhm.
generation will not pass away until all these things take place. And I mean, growing up in a very rapture-focused church, I was
Mhm.
always taught that this generation means the future generation of, like,
Mhm.
those who are gonna live through it, but when you realize that Jesus talks to them and calls them a generation over and over throughout, then you
Mhm.
realize, like, okay, maybe he actually is talking about them. And then you see
Mhm.
all the use, which we'll get to.
It's just, like, crazy because, like you just said, like, we grew up being told that it meant a future generation, and so,
Mhm.
like, when you read it, you're just thinking this was written for you, but it wasn't written for us. Like, it
Right.
was written for us, but not to us, you know? So it's like,
Mhm.
the fact that we just kind of like, yes, like I just said, the Bible's for us, but it wasn't to us. So the fact that we
Mhm.
read these gospel accounts when Jesus is talking to his disciples whom he loved and he walked and did life with, and we just like we have to put ourselves in like this book in like a fairy tale land because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, so he wasn't really having these conversations. It was all just meant for us the entire time, which
Right.
makes that seem like this whole time period wasn't real because it was only really meant for
It
us to
really
hear.
does. It makes it feel like you're just reading a story because if you're like, yeah, literally thinking, "Oh, he was never actually talking to them," but the whole time he is talking to them.
Hmm.
So then it's like, so their life was like
A
not
joke?
real?
Yeah,
Like
not real. Yeah.
like what does that even mean for them? And why would
Yeah.
they keep trying to push this gospel
Hmm.
if it didn't even, you know what I mean? He'd be a false prophet.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's what he would be.
Mhm.
So it
I
is very
also
weird.
so one of the things I've been realizing a lot, people will say that Matthew 24 is talking about the transfiguration,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And I was reading Matthew 24 again the other day, and this verse 3 stuck out to me. So it says, "As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. 'Tell us,' they said, 'when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age?'" Which means his coming and the end of the age, which if you go back to, like, the Hebrew and Greek, that's, like, the word is epoch, which is an, like,
Corbin was talking
era.
about this on the one we did together.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, so
It's
it's like
interesting.
so it wouldn't have been so Jesus is coming, which is what they say that was the transfiguration, and the end of the age, they're in this verse together because they happened at the same
Mhm.
time. So they're
Well,
talking about
yeah,
the
and
end
they
of the
try and
age.
split it. It's like some
Mhm.
people try and split it, and it's like, "Oh, when will the end of the age and when will you return?" or whatever it says. And it's just like, it's the same thing.
It's
Why
in
would
the
we
same
be
verse, but the
yeah, why
reason
would
they're
we separate
splitting
it?
it, it's that's the problem I have with futurists, is that it's a constant, like, just making God's word more complicated, instead
Oh
of
my
just taking
gosh,
it for what
yeah.
it is, you know?
It's
It's like,
so
it literally says it
complicated.
in the same verse because those 2 things were gonna happen at the same
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
When I saw that verse, it's just like, I just feel like that is just it's just not it, like, no.
It's just confusing. There's so many verses that I've asked recently, to like family members who believe this future of Sibiu, and the answers that they give me are so complicated. And it's like,
Mhm.
why do we have to make it like this? Like,
Yeah.
why can't we just read it and understand it?
And I
It's
think that's, like, kind of what got me when because obviously growing up in it and, we've said this a million times, but that's what people like, who wouldn't want to be raptured? Who wouldn't want that to be the
mhm.
case?
Right.
So, like, the fact that we've come to this conclusion, like, to me, it just makes more sense. Like, nobody's gonna choose the thing that makes them more uncomfortable, and
Mhm.
this does because it places us in a time that we don't know a lot about and where we're not just gonna get to be like, they call it escapism. We don't just get to escape and,
I know.
you know, um
Did you see, that one Instagram what is their name? And they always make those funny videos about Jesus.
mm-mm.
Uh, they always make the funny ones like, "Oh, I didn't
Oh,
realize this
the
was
AI
for"
ones? Yeah.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
AI ones, and I don't know if this was a real podcast, I would assume it was. Did you see that one? And they're, like,
Mm-mm.
talking, and they're like, "Well, doesn't the end of this time mean 2/3 of the Jews die?" And they literally are like, "Oh, yeah, but we don't need to discuss that." And then they just move on, and I'm like,
What?
"Wait, what?" And I'm like, "That is
So
literally how
weird.
it is." It's like, you don't even realize, like, you're wanting these things to come,
Mhm.
and you were literally this means all these people are gonna die, but you get
Mhm.
to be raptured, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know. I'm
it's
like, it's
crazy.
really crazy when you sit down and think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Mhm.
obviously when we're taught that, it's like that's
It
not
doesn't
the way
seem
they Yeah.
no, not at all.
Mm. Let's go through a couple more verses. I mean, there's so many. Alyssa, I think you should um like make this thing you made with all
Mhm.
these verses. I think you should make it available for people because it really
Yeah.
breaks down all of them. It's so good. Um I'll read one. Maybe we could just go back and forth reading a couple, but
Okay.
um obviously Matthew has a ton, but it says Matthew 16:28. Guy, I need glasses, I think. Okay. Truly I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom, which again they use for the transfiguration.
Mhm.
But to
Sorry, I'm
me,
just
it's
kind of reading through.
after going over verse 3, it's like I just don't see that.
I mean,
Especially because it's repeated over and over, even after the transfiguration. There's times when they're saying the tribulation is now, the time is at hand, you know.
mhm. Well, isn't there another one? I don't know if I can find it on here, but when it's talking about that, like, you will see the man coming in his kingdom, but it says, like, with his angels or something like that.
Mhm.
Isn't
Mhm.
there
I
another one
think
that says that? And it's
yeah.
like, that didn't happen in the
Yeah.
transfiguration, so
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't
that's exactly that was one of the things when I was kind of like diving into that. There's so many things in there that didn't happen at that time of the
yeah, so
transfiguration. So it's like
you're just,
you're
like,
only
trying to make
making that
something
work.
work.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, mhm. Um, I love this verse, I had just posted it, John 21:22 to 23. Jesus said to him, "If it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you? You follow me." So, like, Jesus is saying that John is gonna be there when he returns, and like you just said, I mean no, you didn't read this one, did you? My brain
Which one?
is all over the place today,
Yeah.
but it's like there's so many verses that say, like, you will see," and
Mhm.
it's just interesting, if you literally read through the New Testament and, like, underline all the "yous," like, you
Mhm.
will it's undeniable to me that it could mean any other thing, you know?
Yeah, and we made a reel on this before, but talking about the word soon. There's nowhere in
Mhm.
the history
Right.
of the definition of the word soon when anybody thought it meant anything other than like it was imminent. It was happening in that time.
Mhm.
So for us to like take that and now we're just like, deciding
Mhm.
this is what it means, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
Um, let's see. Let's read. I just read that one. So even again in Matthew 23:36 says, Truly I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. And then we get to Revelation. I think you have that on here too, but Revelation says that those who pierced him, and like again, this is when the church is always like, well, technically we all have pierced
We
him
are the
because it's
ones who
our
pierced
sins.
him.
And it's
Mhm.
like, I get that. It's all of
Mhm.
our faults that Jesus was put on the cross
Mhm.
and had to take on sin and death. But why wouldn't he just mean literally? Like, he literally got pierced. So why wouldn't
Right.
he mean and he said to that generation, so the people of that generation who pierced him were literally gonna see him.
And then I had just posted too on our Instagram a little bit ago. Jesus is talking about when he's about to be um on the cross,
Mhm,
and it says, I don't know what this is from. I think this is from
mhm,
John. It says, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified." So I just thought it was interesting because he's talking about the hour has come, and
mhm,
he's referring it to what is literally about to happen to him. So
mhm,
when he's saying to like all the apostles, the hour is coming, like the time is coming,
mhm,
it's near. He doesn't
mhm.
mean it in a different way than he meant it then. I just think
Yeah.
like it's so confusing to say he means it here, he didn't mean it here because you have no proof of that other than you want it to work,
Mhm.
you know?
And what's crazy is, like, it really is a spell, and that's how the enemy works, is, like, you're told something over and over, and you really are put, like, under this spell where you can't see it because when I would read, I'm reading with this in mind, and now
Ye
that it's been broken, now that the spell's
Yeah.
been broken and the veil's been lifted, like, everything makes so much more sense, and now I'm how did my brain even think it made sense the other way?
It
But
literally
you're under a
baffles me
spell.
nearly every day that I
I
read.
know.
I'm like, "This is so obvious."
And it also, like, makes me sad because it's like, did I just not care before, or was it truly that I was, like, under a spell?
No, I really think it was like that because it just doesn't it literally doesn't make sense how I could it's like, how can we literally read this? And it's saying, like, "You will see these things, you will see these things," and
Mhm,
I'm like, "Oh, okay, I will, like, I'll see them," and it's like,
mhm.
"What? He's talking to
Yeah,
people." I just never connected those dots. I never
mhm.
thought,
Same.
"What did these people think?"
Yeah.
And I think most people don't, and I think it's totally true that it is like a spell because it's like you come out of it and it makes sense, right? You're like, "Okay,
Mhm,
this does make sense," but it's still weird, and you still
mhm,
don't see things, and the longer you are, like, out of that, the more you see. Even still
mhm.
today, like, me and you are
Yeah,
still seeing things that we didn't see a year
yeah.
or 2 ago or whatever.
Mhm.
So, it's just very interesting.
It is, yeah. So I think we should do you wanna do, like just go over some of the signs that people are like, "Well, where's the Antichrist? Where's the mark of the
Yeah.
beast?" I also think we should go to the 7 churches that they mention in Revelation, what is it,
Mhm.
chapter 3 and 4 or chapter 3? Um, chapter 2. Chapter 2 and 3 mentions all these churches that he was writing the letters to, and I think this was one of the things that was mind-blowing for me too, was, like, we're always told that, like, we represent the churches of Revelation, but they were
Right.
literal
They were
churches,
actual churches.
and they don't exist anymore, and you can see
Mhm.
like, all you have to do is Google them, and you can see that they're in ruins, and there's hardly
Mhm.
anything left of them. So
Mhm.
it's like, why would we not assume these letters and what they said was gonna happen to them, happened to them? And yes,
Don't
of course, there's, like, parts of, like, churches that like, there's nothing new under the sun, so of course, there's things that
Yeah.
churches do that resemble the things that they
Mhm.
were struggling with, but we
I'm,
are
like,
not
thinking,
them.
don't we have a video? I'm pretty sure I've made one, and it shows all the churches.
Mhm, I think there's 2 reels on our
I
page.
think there are. I know I have one of, like, just the churches, and
Mhm.
I was gonna pull it up, but I don't even think I could find it 'cause
It's pretty far back there.
it's pretty far back,
For
so we'll have
anybody
to just
who's new to following us, honestly, when some of our reels, our past reels are really in depth and really good, and I'm hoping to, like, try to revamp them now that more people are following,
we
but
did a
there's some
lot.
good ones back there. Yeah.
We spent a lot of time doing this. Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, I know, I was, like, trying to find it, but we just have so dang many.
Yeah.
But maybe I can add them in here, like, when
But
we're
I
done.
think yeah, yeah. I think that's, like, one of the main things I think people don't recognize that is we aren't these churches, like, you know, it's not a metaphor for the churches of today. They were real churches that were
Uh-huh.
destroyed and warned, and so that's one of them. And then, um, let me see, the mark of the beast. We talked about this on our last one. So, I'd recommend going back and even listening to the last one because we go over Revelation 20, just Revelation 20. Um, but the mark of the beast, like, I think we have so in our heads, and again, this is because 'cause we've been, like, programmed to think it's a microchip of some sort.
Right.
But also
Something
ask yourself
futuristic, yeah.
yeah, but, like, also ask yourself how many times in your own lifetime have you seen a mark come and go?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing is, like, it's
It's like
just
anything new, they're like, "Oh, this is it. This is
Mhm.
the mark," just because it's new.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
futurist dispensational rapture view is like your classic dangling the carrot. It's just and moving the goalpost constantly,
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
know? And this so like the mark of the beast we talked about a lot of times back in that day, in order to like enter the city gates where the market would be, you had to basically like give your allegiance to whoever was like in
Mhm.
charge. And sometimes that would mean like literally like ash on your forehead or your hand or holding like they'd give you a paper or, just even like we did some research on it. A lot of it could be that, um, like the head is where, like the head and the hand is like how you're worshiping is your
Mhm.
hand, like your actions, and the head is like where your allegiance goes to. So I think it's just been misconstrued into this thing to look for and like a bigger deal than it was. But back in those days, like they were used to like giving their allegiance before they entered somebody's city gates where they could buy or sell.
Mhm.
And there's like, we showed a video on our last one too, where they talk about a time. It's also in one of our reels. So that is a possible mark of the beast.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different thoughts and ideas that could have been
mhm,
the mark of the beast, and, we've talked about it, I think, on our last one, but just that Jenny Meyer, she's done a lot of really good videos
mhm,
on this, and that, like, this was just, like, something that happened in our past, like, where you had to do these things, so
mhm.
I you can't rule it out, in my opinion, you just
Yeah,
can't there is
yeah,
evidence that it already happened, so I just
mhm.
think that's super fascinating, we
Yeah,
can't
so you
overlook
just have to
that.
decide in your heart. Like that's the thing is like a lot of we can't answer every single sign and give you the evidence, but there are
Mhm,
so many of them that there is evidence for. But at the end of the day, I've given some of this evidence to some people and they're just like, "No, that's not it." And it's like, "Okay, well, I can help you then if you're not willing to have eyes to see that these things
I
happen during
know,
the time
it's
he said they'd happen."
right, I
That's
just
what
think
gets
it's
me.
because our
Mhm.
churches, our modern day churches don't teach this, it just makes it so, "Oh my gosh, no,
Mhm.
this could never have happened," and it's like, just
Mhm.
because they missed it doesn't mean, like, they're the right ones that are, right. It's like,
Mhm.
I
Yep.
just think it being in this season makes so much sense that it's like those
Mhm.
of us who believe Jesus's words are the ones that are called heretics.
Yeah.
How does that
Yeah.
make sense?
I know.
It's like only in this season could you literally turn people's belief in Jesus against them and be like, "Oh, you're a heretic.
You're
You're
believing
following the
you're
doctrine
believing
of
his word
demons."
too closely.
And also, so many people wanna call us, like, following Satan, following demons, and it's like, literally, what are you
And we're
talking about?
we're exposing a time that we've exposed everything he's turned like
Done.
deceived. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, how are we worshiping him? We are, yeah, exposing. So that I don't
Mhm.
know. The arguments against it are very interesting, and it's like in our last one in the last reel that we just posted of you, and you're just talking about how they label you, "Oh, you're a heretic. Oh, I'm
Mhm.
just gonna slap this name on you," so people are like, "Oh, they look really
Don't
bad,"
listen to
and
them.
they don't
Mhm.
listen.
Mhm.
That it's just amazing to me that this is always labeled that, and it's like, you have no idea what you're even talking about. That is
Yeah.
not at all what it is, and if you look
And
into
there's
it for
never a
half a
defense for it.
second no,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just like,
Mhm.
you're not looking into it, you're just putting a claim on it so that nobody wants to know because it doesn't go with what you're teaching and what you
Mhm.
learned in seminary.
Mhm. Which I think
I
is
don't
what
know.
like made us recognize this is probably where we're at too is because like people who think this like if you listen to them they have a lot of evidence for why they think it. When you talk to a futurist it's just like
Yeah.
it's more of like we told you why didn't you just listen, and it's like
Ye
no I want to show like I want to see the evidence.
yeah.
Here's another one. This book I have it's been hard to get through it, but it's really good. It's really not that long. I just keep forgetting to read this.
Mhm.
So, but another one of the things Jesus says look for in Matthew 24, he's talking about how there'll be like many who come in his name and false prophets and
Mhm.
false signs.
Yeah.
And this book goes over, I'll just read a portion of it. I recommend reading it because there's a lot more on it. But it says, okay. So it says, take heed, says he, that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and I shall deceive many. So the necessity for this friendly warning it soon appeared. For within 1 year after our Lord's ascension rose Dositheus, the Samaritan, who had the boldness to assert that he was the Messiah of whom Moses prophesied, while his disciple Simon Magus, who we all have heard of, deluded multitudes into a belief that he himself was the great power of God. About 3 years afterwards, another Samaritan impostor appeared and declared that he would shew the people in the sacred utensils said to have been deposited by Moses in Mount Gerizim. Induced by an idea that the Messiah, their great deliverer, was now come, and armed multitudes assembled under him. But Pilate speedily defeated them. And it just goes on. There's about 4 or 5 who came like a year after Jesus's ascension.
Mm,
So, like, to me, that like all these things came to pass so quickly. So
yeah.
many of these signs, like, we can prove that they came to pass. But
Mhm.
because we don't want to listen to them, we write it off. But, like, wouldn't that make so much more sense? He
Yeah.
prophesied these things were to happen soon, at hand,
Mhm.
like, eminently, and then they did. But we
Mhm.
write it off because we've been told, "No, no, no, it's gotta be future." So that's another one that's answered and, like, proven. Like, there was people declaring themselves as Messiah and doing signs and wonders.
Mhm.
But,
But yeah,
sorry,
like,
you
I
keep
just feel
going.
like with 70 AD, we're not told about this. We've grown up in these
Mhm,
churches and Christian schools and Christian homes, never knew about it. And yet this is one of the things that was prophesied was going to happen.
mhm,
And in 40 years, which is biblical generation, it happened. So we
mhm,
can't overlook it's just to me, it's too many things to just overlook and be like, "Oh, coincidence. Oh, coincidence.
mhm.
Oh, no, everything he prophesied to happen literally happened. And
Yeah,
yes, it's not written in our history book, so we don't it's different, but if you look into the history, it is there.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, that's the thing is you have to search it out,
you
like,
have to do it,
you have to be willing to look for stuff.
and
I was
it's
gonna
there.
say when you mentioned that, so that's another thing that Jesus prophesied, Matthew 21:20, he says, "When you see Jerusalem being surrounded by armies, you will know that its desolation is near." Okay, so shortly after that, in 70 AD, they were surrounded. And he
Mhm,
said that's when the desolation will occur. So why would we place that for a third temple? Again, never talked about.
mhm,
Why would we put that there when he says, when you see this, and we know historically it was surrounded by armies and destroyed. So the
mhm.
desolation was there. And there's historical accounts that talk about the desolation. Um,
Yep.
and we have a reel on this, but it says that Titus and his armies, once they destroyed it, it says that they literally destroyed it until there was not one stone left because
Mhm,
so once like when they were destroying it, they were so greedy to like loot from there that there
mhm,
was silver and gold like melting within the stone. So they literally were uncovering the stones to get all of the
mhm.
melted
Yeah.
gold and silver. So I mean he says not a stone left upon another. Like they literally were doing that, and it
Mhm,
also says in like the historical stuff of this time and probably in Josephus's works that when they went, they did sacrifice to I don't know how you say it. I think it's incense,
incense?
Ensigns, not incense, but
Oh.
that was like their gods or something. They
Oh, okay.
so they sacrificed to them and their and so again, like the desolation, like I don't know what people are thinking the desolation's gonna be, but to me, a desolation to God's holy temple would be anything that isn't meant for a sacrifice or worship to him. And that's exactly what they did.
Mhm. Right.
So there's another one. And again, we have a full reel. So if you want like the breakdown of it, but
Mhm.
there are like we're just trying to make a point of like people ask for all these signs. We have answers for a lot of them.
Yeah, for
And
most of
here's
them.
something. And then
You have the
do you
42
wanna
month
talk about the,
war too.
Antichrist? Somebody asked about the Antichrist. I mean, we can guess on that.
I
There's
mean, the
plenty of people.
speculation is that it was Nero because
Yeah.
his gematria number is 666
Mhm.
or 616, right? I've heard both.
Mhm.
It could, like,
Yeah.
go either way.
Yeah. But we've talked
Not
about this too, where we don't necessarily think there's, like it talks about the spirit of Antichrist, and it talks
yeah,
about
I don't
Antichrist.
know.
So, to me, it's like the whole Roman, like, rule. They were all the Antichrists, like,
Yeah, I would say
know.
that's, like, probably top 3 questions that you
But that's
get, and
because they make it such a big
a
deal
big
that we're
deal.
waiting for this
Yeah.
Antichrist, and there is, like, historical documents that talk about Nero, he committed I don't know if
Mm.
that's allowed, um, and there was people who were claiming that he was still alive because you know how they talk about, like, a wound to the head and he still is alive.
Mm,
So they're like there are stories of him supposedly being around still after they thought he was dead, but, like,
mhm.
who knows? Um
But yeah, then there's also the Roman-Jewish War, which was 42 months, which
Mhm,
is prophesied, that exact time frame of
mhm,
the war. It's just
yeah,
interesting how many things there are. It's like,
I know.
okay, all of the
And just the
questions you have.
Daniel prophecies. I think this is one that gets me, like, so in the Daniel prophecies, we see him say it's in Daniel 12:4. He says, like, "Seal up this prophecy because the time's not yet." And then we get to Revelation, and he tells John,
Mhm.
"Do
Do
not
not.
seal this up because the time is at hand." So
Yep.
it's like,
That was for
why
me, like, that was one of my biggest ones. I'm
Mhm,
like, because the timeline between when Daniel was written to when Revelation was written was less than 500 years. So that means if something's at hand,
it's
it's
gonna be
clearly
quicker
gonna
than
be
500.
less
Yeah,
than 500 years.
yeah,
So from the time Revelation was written, it had to have been less than that
mhm,
time frame, and we are well past that. That one for
mhm,
me was like, "Okay, like, you
mhm.
got me,"
Well, it's also
because it
just
doesn't make
like
any sense.
it just goes to show you how much they're, like, trying to turn off our common sense. Because common sense
Yeah.
would tell you that,
Oh,
you know? But,
yes,
like, "Oh,
100%.
well, we just don't have it right again," you know?
But it's
Um
like, I mean, we'd have to be so off on our timeline for that to
Mhm.
be, "Oh, we just messed up a little." No, we're 2,000 years past that. So it's like,
Yep.
no, that we're not just off a little bit. It clearly already happened.
Mhm.
I don't To me, that one just gets me so hard.
Me too. This is the last one about 70 AD that I wanna make a point about, but he says in there that, um, like, when the time comes and the city's surrounded by armies, he says,
Mhm.
"Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains." Like, it was talking about all these specific places, and yet
Specific.
somehow we think, we're like, what's supposed to be about us, you know? Which is also funny.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm sure you did because you went to Harvest way longer than I did, but he always had his, like, Revelation series,
Mhm.
and he always would be like, "Why isn't America mentioned in the end times? Is it because we get destroyed?" And I'm like, "No, it's probably because we didn't exist when it happened." You know
I
what I
know,
mean?
that's always a really big thing in the churches like that, like, "Why isn't
Mhm.
America in it?" And
Yeah,
so,
and I
everybody
always used
has
to
their
be so freaked out
speculation.
by it because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that means we're gonna be destroyed," and
Yep.
but now it's
Yeah,
like,
isn't that
"No, we
crazy?
just didn't exist at that time,
Exist?
so we weren't
Mhm.
mentioned."
Yeah.
Um
Also 536 AD, so if you I've also made multiple reels on
Mhm,
this because this one's so fascinating to me,
mhm,
but, there's all these things, like, there's the bubonic plague that happened, there was supposedly, I've heard 12 to 18 months of darkness,
mhm,
and what else? I mean, there was wars, famines, all the things that Jesus is prophesying are going to happen
mhm,
are literally documented, and they're not all during 536 AD, but that's kind of like they're all kind of around that time frame,
mhm,
and if you go with the Gunnar Heinsohn, that's his name, right? I'll always forget.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's saying how many years are missing from our timeline?
700.
750,
Mhm.
700. So, yeah, if 700 years are
About.
missing, it's just like it could have all been right there, and it's just like with our years so messed up, like, you
Yeah, they
can't
try to
really know.
separate it so it doesn't seem like it's one event that happened, it's, like, different events, but by
Yeah,
his research, it proves that they all happened at the
it's
same
super
time.
fascinating.
It really
Yeah.
is. It's just,
Mhm.
like especially because I think it was Paul and J2T who first, like, discovered that, and that
Mhm.
wasn't until after they died. Like, that's the thing is, like, so many of these historical things we're finding after we've trusted Jesus at his word now, and
Mhm.
now we're digging into history and it lines up with it, you know? And I
Mhm.
think that's so cool.
Yeah, that's where it's
Um
cool. It's like you're not digging in and then you always like okay, so like with the little season stuff, all of us go into it and we're like, we're gonna disprove this. It's gonna be
Mhm,
so easy. And then it's like, oh no, that proves it more. Oh, that proves it more. Oh, that
mhm.
proves it more. Like
Yep.
biblically and historically, I have still yet to find anything that contradicts. So we're
Mhm,
still open. Like if anybody had anything that actually contradicts and you actually understand what we believe, I would love to
mhm.
hear it. Like
Yeah.
that girl K Podge tries to disprove us over and over again. half
But
the
she
time
clearly doesn't know what we're
she doesn't
saying.
even know what we
Mhm,
believe, so it's like, I
mhm.
can't take anything you're saying seriously because you don't take us seriously. Like, you
Yeah.
just wanna, again, put the label on it,
You're
call us
you're
crazy.
proving things wrong that we've never
We've never
even
claimed to
said. Yeah.
believe.
Mhm,
So, I'm still like, if anybody has anything, but literally there's not been one thing that is like, "Ooh,
mhm.
that doesn't really go."
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, even, one of our followers messaged me because I had posted about one of the people we follow, and I really enjoy him. I think he's got a lot of good content, but he says the little season is ridiculous and
Who
stuff.
is it?
I can't remember his name right now,
Oh.
but I posted about him and it was just saying like, this part of the problem in our world is like the second someone disagrees with something you believe
Mm.
in, you just like write them off and you
Oh,
think
yeah,
they're
yeah.
hateful. And I was like, you can
Yeah.
still follow people and disagree with them because
Yeah.
obviously I disagree with him.
Yeah.
But like one of our followers, I posted that and one of our followers, like, I actually messaged him about this and she shared with me his response. And it wasn't anything like rude, but his response and his evidence didn't have anything to do with like it didn't prove it wrong. So I just
Mm.
think that like people don't want to listen. So they'll spew out a bunch of stuff that they think, oh, this will just like make people stop asking the
I mean,
questions
the
almost, you
most
know?
basic thing of, "Oh, you believe we're in little season? You're a heretic." That is already false. It's already
Mhm.
false because it is a part of the Bible that somebody
Mhm.
has to live through. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I just think it's so crazy, and I'm just
Yeah,
like,
so, like, if we didn't believe we were in this time, are we still allowed to discuss it? Because 'Cause I've never heard anybody really talk
no,
about it, like, what is that time gonna look like? I'm sure there's somebody out there who has, but
it's very
hardly.
strange
Mhm.
because it's like, even learning about the end times, they don't teach this in churches.
Mhm.
It's just not something discussed. The
Mhm.
only thing I ever heard was like, "Oh, it's a super short time."
Mhm.
So in my
I didn't
mind,
even hear
I'm like,
that.
a month. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, something so fast. So, yeah,
Yeah.
very
I
strange.
didn't have any clue about it.
Yeah.
And then we have Josephus and Tacitus. They were, historians during the time of the Roman Jewish
Mhm.
War, and Alyssa's gonna read from her book on Josephus.
This is what Jamie got me for my birthday. It's the
Oh, that's
Josephus book.
right. I know, I need to get it for
So,
myself. It's
y
so huge.
it's literally as like, pretty much as big as my Bible.
It's
Okay.
crazy.
Okay, let me see. Is it right here? Okay, yeah, it's right here. Okay, so it's so big. I was, like, looking through it. So it's book 6 and then chapter 5, if anybody wants to look, and then section 3. While they did not attend nor give credit to the signs that were so evident, and did so plainly foretell their future desolation, but, like men infatuated without either eyes to see or minds to consider, did not regard the denunciations that God made to them. Thus there was a star resembling a sword which stood over the city, and a comet that continued a whole year. It appeared to be bright daytime, which light last. This is weird. It says at the ninth hour of the night, so great a light shone round the altar and the holy house that it appeared to be bright daytime, which light lasted for half an hour.
Hmm.
So I don't really know what that means. But then it's talking about
I just think, like,
uh
it talks about signs in the sky and
here it is. It's right here.
things, so
Verse 298. And to deserve such signals, for before sunsetting, chariots and troops of soldiers in their armor were seen running about among the clouds and surrounding of the cities.
hmm.
Pretty weird. And then it's talking about Pentecost. So
Especially because he wasn't a
he wasn't a.
Christian.
No.
So, it's not like he didn't have anything to gain from this, like, to lie or anything,
I
you
mean, he
know?
was a Jew, correct? He was one
Mhm.
of
Yeah,
the
Jewish
Jews.
historian. Mhm.
Yeah. So it's like, he's not going to want to say anything that's going to prove that Jesus was right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. But it's like, yeah, it's like he's literally talking about there was an army in the sky surrounding the
Mhm.
cities. But
Yep.
and
Which is literally in there.
what gets me with that is the church uses Josephus for a lot of other things.
Mhm.
But yet when it comes to that, they're like, "Oh no, let's ignore that part."
And
Kind
that's
of
what I'm
like.
saying is, like, there's so many signs, but because we can't give you an answer to every single one, like, even the water turning to blood, there's old, depictions, like, drawings and paintings of
Mhm.
70 AD where there was so much bloodshed that it was, like, going into the rivers and turning it blood red, 'cause
Yeah.
blood,
Yeah,
and, like, there's that people have said that, and so, yeah, I can't prove that to you, what am I gonna do?
I
But
know.
there's people saying that from then and drawing and painting pictures of that. So it's
Right.
like
I think with
and
all these
also, like,
things,
another
like,
one oh, sorry, go ahead.
say with all these things, like, we can sit here and we will. We'll sit here and we'll give you all of the proof that we've seen
Mhm,
historically.
mhm,
But I just think the most important thing is, like, what are the words of Jesus? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
mhm.
what did he say to
He
his
keeps
apostles?
his word.
And you just have to, if you don't wanna believe any of these things, believe Jesus. That's all you need to
Mhm.
do, and
Yeah.
believe, I mean, even something as simple as the timeline of the Daniel prophecies to Revelation, like,
Mhm,
it's clearly in that time frame, so
mhm,
there's just all these things. It's like, yeah, people might not wanna listen to all this historical stuff, but I think it's all fascinating, and it's all right there, and it all aligns, you know?
mhm. And the
But
thing is, like, isn't that the whole point of our faith is that we don't see things,
I
but we believe
know.
what he says, you know?
Yes,
And yet here we are
100%.
also giving you physical evidence, but you don't wanna
Yeah,
listen to it.
I
So at the
know.
end of the day, it's like you just don't wanna believe it because you wanna hold tight to the eschatology you've grown up with,
Yeah.
which we get,
Mhm.
we've been there.
We
Um,
have been there. Mhm.
I also one of the things is, like, this is one we get to, the Mount of Olives being split.
Oh, yeah,
This is
that's a
my
big
thing
one.
about if all of this happened, our lands are gonna look different. They do
Yeah.
look different, hence the melted buildings and things
Yeah.
that those are evidences. The Mount of Olives that we see today and Mount Zion, they are literally mounds, they are not mountains. So in what world
Mhm.
would we think those are the ones talked about even in the Bible? To me,
Mhm.
because this already happened, they don't even look how they were. So
Yeah.
again, I can't prove to you that they already split, but I also can look at this and say, like, these don't even look like the mountains that they talk about in the Bible. So
Mhm.
are our lands and, like, the geography completely accurate?
I know there's all we looked into this. I feel like we listened to this a lot when we first started, but there's so much speculation that America is actually
Mhm.
Israel and stuff and Egypt,
Yeah.
and I do find it is super fascinating. I still tend to think everything kind of is what it is, but
I think so too.
I
Yeah.
still I'm like, it could be something different.
Well, I
I
just
mean,
think
the
it all
Grand
looked
Canyon
different.
is
I think
weird.
we were all like I think we were much more connected. So, I don't it
Yeah,
didn't look how it
because
looks today. So it was just
right.
completely different.
I would think my thought is before the tribulation, I think everything was together, like all the
Like
lands.
Pangea.
Yes,
Mhm.
Pangea. Don't you think?
I think so, yeah,
Yeah, I
and I
think
think
everything
that's
was
why
together.
things kind of there probably were things happening in America, but it wasn't America yet. It still was
Yeah.
attached to there, and, like,
Yeah.
it was just different.
Mhm.
Um, Another one that people say, "Well, the gospel hasn't been preached to the whole world," but
Mhm.
biblically, it says it has. So there's
Mhm.
the verse in I'll read Colossians. Do you wanna read, Romans 1:8 while I look up Colossians
Yeah, I have it. It's on my
1:23? Oh,
list.
is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta look on it. Okay, so Colossians 1:23, it says if you continue in your faith, established and firm, and do not move from the hope held out in the gospel, this is the gospel that you heard and that has been proclaimed to every creature under heaven, and of which I, Paul, have become a servant. So that's just one place. It says it was already preached.
Mhm. And then Romans 1:8. First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for all of you, because of your faith, or because your faith has been proclaimed in all of the world. I think my
Hmm.
jaw dropped on both of those verses as well when I first heard them, because that is a major thing everybody says. I was always like,
Hmm.
oh, the gospel has to be proclaimed to the whole world. And it's like,
Hmm.
we literally read it in our Bibles for our whole lives and we didn't
That's what I'm
know.
saying. Why are we reading these things and we're just like, oh, yeah, I can't mean that
I'll just
though.
skip over that.
Couldn't
Is it
possibly
wild?
mean what it says.
Yeah.
It is
Those ones
crazy.
really got me. I thought those were nuts.
Yeah. The last thing I think I don't know about you, but the last thing I wanna get to before we go into, like, the actual millennial reign is the rapture. Because somebody said, "Well, like, what about the rapture?" If you listen to any of ours before, there is a part of me that thinks maybe there was a type of rapture that Paul's referencing, but it would have happened for them because they
Mhm.
endured
Right.
the tribulation, and he
Mhm.
says those who are alive and remain, those who make it through the tribulation probably were taken with him to go and rule for 1,000 years.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that is both of our thoughts, is that it probably happened at the end,
mhm.
and then Jesus probably just took them up to New Jerusalem.
Yeah, I
That would be
also
my
think it
guess.
makes sense, and again, we talked about this on one of them. But during that time, like, if you really look into these verses and, like, historically what they meant, the words in there were talking about like a tradition, a victory tradition, where they
Mhm.
would meet the victor at the end of a war. And wouldn't that make so much sense? Because it's like Jesus just defeated Rome and now he was
Mhm.
going to reign. And so it's like they're
Mhm.
going to meet with him and get to rule and reign for the 1,000 years. And obviously not
Right.
everybody, survived the tribulation. But
Mhm.
so we've gotten past the rapture. We've gone over signs that would have happened during the tribulation, the temple being destroyed. So now,
Oh, and also I was gonna say, we also believe that Rome was the one world government.
yeah, which
I
I
don't think
think
there's
there's
any
evidence all
there's
over.
plenty of evidence for that.
And we
Yeah.
will go over this. We're planning to do a episode just on like the buildings and stuff,
Mhm.
but I think it's pretty clear. So,
Yeah, I mean, the buildings are everywhere.
yeah. So now we get to the 1,000 year reign. And this is where we differ from um okay, so partial preterists kind of believe we're in the same time period. Um but they think everything's spiritual.
Mhm.
So we're very different from them in that we think there is a lot of physical evidence. And I believe, and you might differ than me on this, but I believe during the 1,000 year reign, Jesus was both physically and spiritually reigning
I
because
think
he's
so
still
too, yeah.
spiritually reigning,
Yeah.
which answers another question we got. Where is Jesus now? He's still sitting on the throne.
Still
That
raining,
doesn't
yeah.
change. Like
I
when we
mean, yeah,
talk
it
about the
talks
1,000
about
year, no, go ahead.
yeah, it talks about him reigning from, like, the time he ascends. He's already
Hmm.
sitting at the right hand of God, so I
Hmm.
believe he's been reigning from then, and he'll
Hmm.
be reigning, till we're all in the new heaven and new earth. And even at
Hmm.
that point, he'd still be reigning.
Yeah, he was reigning that whole time. It's just that the
Yeah,
1,000 years isn't describing his reign. The
it's
1,000 years is describing
describing
the time Satan was bound.
right,
I think that's like
the
the
difference.
misconception.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause it
but
is
I do.
interesting, the people, like, they wanna say, "Oh, it's not a literal 1,000." No, it is
Mhm,
it's telling you that because it's letting you know that's how long Satan is going to be locked up for,
mhm.
and then he's gonna be let loose. So it
Yeah,
is
but
giving you a
not the
time frame.
reign. Like his reign doesn't only
Right.
last for 1,000 years. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that is like a common like
Mhm.
misconception. But I do think his reign while Satan was bound looked much different in a physical way because Satan was bound. And that's
Mhm.
where all these things that we're going to share with you come in.
Yeah.
Um, so number one, I think this is like one of the number one things that people say. Have we had a time of peace that we didn't know about? That wasn't a time of peace. It says in there that he rules with a rod of iron. So I don't think it was um like a sinless time. It wasn't a time when people weren't like they still had free will during that time.
Yeah. Right. Because it's not
So
heaven.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. So he's still ruling with a rod of iron. But I think in comparison to especially what they just went through with the tribulation, it's like, yeah, it was a peaceful time, you know?
Right. And I mean, if
Uh,
Satan is bound, I think people still speculate, like, were the demons loosed or not as well? Like, were
mm,
they there or were they not?
hmm. I didn't
You
even
know?
really think about that. Yeah.
But, I mean, if Satan's not reigning, I or not loose, it's just like things would have just been so different. Like,
Hmm.
imagine, like, because right now we think he's loose and he's
Hmm.
allowing all this deception. He's doing all of these things. But if he
Yeah.
wasn't there, it's like, how much different would our world be? So I
Hmm.
think it would have been totally different.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're still human and we're still gonna sin.
So we're going to show you some things. I think I'll start with showing them the coins that would have existed during that time.
Mhm.
There's two coins I'm going to show you that would have existed during the time we believe he was reigning. So let me pull those up. So these ones have a picture of Jesus on them, which no time before this, um, like previous to this, it was only Roman emperors on the coin. Can you see this?
Mhm.
Okay, just making sure. So I'll try to zoom in so everybody can get a good look at that. So that is one of the coins they found. The other thing that's very interesting about coins during this time and where we are saying like timelines are messed up is if you look at this, and I've watched a lot of videos on this. I haven't done a lot of my own. Like I haven't really gone down a huge like rabbit hole
Yeah.
looking at it. So if you look at this coin, you see this right here
Mhm.
is it looks like a 1, so you'd think it was 1013, but people are saying this is actually an I, which in I think it's the Hebrew was a J. So they're saying, like, Jesus, that
Mhm.
was the J representing Jesus and then, like, the date. But this is where
Yeah,
they're just saying, like, dates have been thrown off, and even on some of the buildings, if you look, it will be like an I and then a date.
totally.
So it's never and those are pretty, like when I looked at them, I mean, it's pretty obvious to me that they're an I and not a
I know
1.
it's funny, even looking at old buildings very often, it's like they'll have the number on the top and it's like centered with the 3 numbers, and then they
Mhm,
put that random like 1 and it's like off to the side,
mhm.
and it's like, that does not go there. You've
Yeah,
definitely added
something's
that
off.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, clearly, they've been trying to throw off our timelines, and that's one of the things that gets me, it's like, you have to ask yourself those questions, like, why are they trying to keep things from us? Again, like the Vatican hiding all those things, like, why are you keeping this stuff from us, and
Yeah.
why are you adding numbers to these dates?
Mhm.
Like, why would you do that other than trying
Yeah.
to manipulate timelines?
Yeah, it's very strange.
Mhm. Very, very strange. Um,
I don't
and
know if you wanna
then
talk about, the what's that video? The Lost History of Flat Earth.
oh, I just think anybody should
Yeah, everybody should watch that
watch that.
because that
It's
was
just like there's
life-changing.
so much information.
Mhm.
And that's where I really started thinking about the buildings because it was like,
Yeah.
I've obviously seen those buildings, but I never
Mhm.
and I've always thought, wow, these are amazing and beautiful. And like you're just in awe when you see them. But I've never been like, how did they build this? You know?
Again, it's like one of those things that we just, like, see our whole lives and we just, like,
Hmm.
I don't know. Like, why are we not noticing how crazy they are? And, like, why are
I
we
know.
not thinking about how we build things now versus, okay,
Hmm.
they would have built them back then when they had nothing? Like, and they
Hmm.
live in log cabins,
Yeah,
but yet
that's the
they're
thing. And
building these massive cathedrals.
yeah, like at that time, they didn't have resources. Man's life like span was like
They
30
didn't even have
years
a
at the
power
time.
tool
Yeah.
till, like, 1895,
Yeah.
yet they
Which
built all these buildings.
yeah.
Okay.
I also wanted to note, this is important. You can literally just look this up, but there was a surge in Christianity out all throughout the world during this time period when
Mm,
we think the millennial reign was happening, which to me that's there's no I don't even have to add to that.
yeah,
Why else would that be other than Jesus is reigning and Satan is bound?
exactly. Yeah.
Um and then the buildings. Do you want to talk about like the different fire stories and stuff while I pull up the buildings? Like how it's just
Um,
all the stories are so
yeah, it's
whack.
very interesting with all the fires because okay, when we first started getting into this, number 1 documentary was The Lost History of Flat Earth for me,
Mhm.
and then it was every single episode of My Lunch Break, which if you have
Mhm.
not watched My Lunch Break, watch it now,
Yeah.
and start from the beginning. It is absolutely insane how many every story is the same. Every
Mhm.
story is like, "Oh, this fire narrative. Oh, they had a fire. Oh, they had another fire. Oh,
Mhm.
they had" like, multiple fires. Even the
Yep.
names in them sometimes, they'll be, like, the same names, or it'll
Yeah.
be like this okay, like what Jamie's pulling up. It'll be, like, one
I've
of
seen it.
these churches, and
Yeah.
it'll be like, "This was their first thing that they ever did, and they were 30 years old." It's like, "No, they did
Yeah.
not. How dumb
Yeah.
do you think we are? It's so stupid."
It's
So
so
I
dumb.
but the amount of fire
And it's
stories,
always those contests too. That's what
it's a
like
contest. But
why? Why
no,
would there be contests? Look at
the
this.
that yeah, they'd
It's
be like, "Oh, it was his first one that he ever built. He was 34 years old." It's like,
yeah.
"No, you did not." But what's really interesting, okay, this is like what really got me is all these great fires. So basically, look up your city, look up the Great Fire. I'm going to say Fort Worth because that's where I am. The Great Fire of Fort Worth. 1800s, there will be a great fire of like every single major city in America in the
Mhm.
1800s. Okay. And what really got me was specifically this one, and I don't remember which city it was. I want to say it was like Chicago, Detroit, something like that.
Mhm.
This fire happened in the middle of the night, okay, in the 1800s. And there was no deaths or like less than 5, like
Mhm.
literally no deaths. I'm sorry, but if a fire started now in the middle of the night, even if we have cell phones and sirens and all of these things to warn people, people are
Mhm.
going to die.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that this whole city burned down in the middle of the night and not one person died. And that
Mhm.
really got me. And then he came back and posted again. I don't know if you remember this that they've now updated it and added some deaths to it. Like, it literally
Really?
changed.
I did
Yeah,
not see that.
it's very interesting with my lunch break because he'll post literally screenshots of things, and then they'll
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden change it because we are all catching on to how dumb their narrative is.
Yeah.
You know what I
Which
mean?
is why I've been taking more screenshots too, because I'm like, "Is this gonna be here when I when I
They
go to look
literally
it up
change
next?"
stuff a
Yeah,
lot. It's
yeah.
interesting. We're
And
all
let's just look
catching
at the
on.
inside. You guys, look at these.
It's insane.
Like, are you joking? It's
I'm so
nuts.
jealous that you got to go to Europe and look at all of these.
I
I
know, but
would
I
love
didn't
to.
have the
I know you didn't
mindset that
know
I
what you
did.
were looking at.
I mean, I still was like that's what I'm saying is, like, you're still in awe and you're just like, "Whoa." Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy what they used to be able to do.
Yeah. So, like, with the mud floods, like, all the windows, like, how you'll notice the windows are to the ground.
Mhm.
Chase and I were just watching Breaking Bad. I'm not advising anybody to watch Breaking Bad.
I've seen
I
some of
love
it.
Breaking Bad. But they're at this church, and it's such a cool, like, cathedral church, and
Mhm.
then you see, like, all the windows are, like, to the ground, and I'm just like, "How come we don't think about this?" Like, how weird is that? We don't
Yeah.
make windows to the ground, like, that wouldn't make any sense. They're clearly
No.
buried. There was
And
clearly a mud flood.
I don't have, like, a huge, like, thought on what I think the mud flood is, but it's just one of those things that we should be
It's
questioning,
everywhere. It's
you know?
literally
Like,
everywhere.
why don't we question things like that? We're just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that's fine. It's just how they did it." No, nobody's doing that.
I think the weirdest thing to me with mud floods I was doing this. The weirdest thing to
Illuminati
me
confirmed.
I know, is that there's, like, no actual explanation of the mud
Mhm.
floods. To this day, they will not give
Yeah.
us an answer, and it's like, they just wanna act like it didn't happen.
They just call us a
Again,
conspiracy theorist. It's like,
again, we
we have
have
proof.
eyes. We have
Yeah.
eyes. We can see
Mhm.
these things,
Mhm.
and you wanna act like we're just insane.
Mhm.
'Kay,
Yep. It's
that's where I'm
nuts.
at. Mhm.
And if you're wondering why all these fires, because the fires actually happen, but it's like, why do they all have the same story and why is it happening to
I
all of them?
don't
And
know that I think they all happened. I
I
don't
think
think
they
so.
happen, but they aren't gonna destroy those kind of buildings, you
Okay,
know what I
no,
mean?
I do think some of the fires happened, but when they say, like, "Oh, this building was burned down and we rebuilt it. Oh, it was burned down, we
Oh, yeah,
rebuilt
yeah,
it,"
yeah.
just trying to make it sound like, "Oh, this is a brand new building."
Mhm.
No, that's the
Yeah.
same building as from the 1500s.
Yeah, see, I think the fires were real, I just
But
don't believe their
yes,
narrative because
yeah,
they weren't burning down. What I think was happening is they're inside those
they're
buildings,
getting
destroying
rid of
documents,
evidence. Yeah,
anything that they
totally.
can, which is
Mhm.
why also we've talked about this before, but I think a lot of wars, like,
Yes.
specifically happen in areas where they could
Mhm.
destroy more of the buildings
Yep.
because there's evidence, and whatever evidence they didn't destroy, they collected and took with them to the Vatican probably, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. I know, we gotta get in there.
I know.
We gotta do
I'm
it.
like, if we all just stormed it,
What can they
it will
do?
never happen, but
Okay, that's, like, January 6th, so we'll
although
just
I'm
all
a
go to
little
jail.
true. I'm also terrified of what could be down there because who knows? They're demonic, so
Who
I don't know.
knows? I know. Okay, so
Um,
then do you wanna keep talking about buildings, or do should we you can keep saying.
um, the only thing I was gonna bring up is how, like, we see these traditions, like, even in the Catholic Church, and I made a reel on this, about prayers to the saints. I just see, like, there's a lot of traditions that we see now, and I have to wonder, like, was this
Mhm,
like, it has this just been revamped to fit like, the prayers to the saints? In
mhm,
short, what I suggested is that these saints were ruling and reigning with Christ, right? So, I think that
mhm.
they were able to go to these places, these cathedrals where maybe the saints were at and ask them, like, "Can you pray with me?" And
Yes.
now it's been changed to, "We're gonna pray to them for them to pray on our behalf."
I mean, that's even
So
kind of how it was when they were walking the earth. They were
mhm.
the ones who went and prayed for people and cast out
Yeah.
demons and
Yeah.
healed people, so
Mhm.
I would imagine it was the same type of thing, but they're
Mhm.
now, like, ruling with
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
So
because if you think about like, I think the saints were probably more accessible. I think that Jesus was reigning both physically and spiritually, and I don't know exactly what that looked like, but we know from Micah, it's Micah, right? Yeah, that there's a pilgrimage to Jesus that's referenced for happening during the millennial reign. So
mm,
I do think there was access to him, whether that's in the, like, New Jerusalem or,
mhm,
like, that's maybe reigning, which is it's crazy because there are stories about these floating cities, right? So
mhm.
if he was floating and reigning physically, spiritually in the New Jerusalem, maybe that's where all these stories of these floating cities come from.
Mhm.
And that's why I think, like, we did a reel on the Great Wall of China, but I do think the Great Wall of China is seriously insane, like how
Mhm.
long it is. And it does
Yeah.
make sense that maybe it was created so that there could be this pilgrimage from all over to come. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know exactly, but it's like I just look at things like that and I'm like, there has to be more to it than it's just like, I don't know. It's just too crazy. And for the time frame that they give you with all these things, it just doesn't
Mhm.
make sense.
Yeah.
I also think too, like with Satan bound, like I think people really were reaching their full potential. So were they able
Yeah.
to build these things? Did Jesus help?
Mhm.
I do think there's like, what is it, somatics? Is that what it's called? So like you see a lot of that within the buildings, like how the glass is formed
Mm.
and all these things that are used like that like energy's harnessed. And I think that the Lord created that. So he'd be the best one
Mhm.
to show them. But also I've wondered if maybe they've lived during the millennial reign because Satan was bound, maybe they lived longer and were
Hmm.
like, had more time to I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah.
Either way, I think there was
No,
help
but for
from
sure, like, the
heaven.
way that the buildings are built and the patterns and stuff in the windows and everything,
Mhm,
like, it's so specific and precise,
mhm.
and I do think it's interesting, like, did the voice of Jesus I don't
I
know,
mean, he spoke our
like,
world
did he
into
s
existence.
yeah, and it's just interesting because they talk about that, the vibration of it, and, like,
Mhm,
if you do that sand thing, like,
mhm,
shapes that it makes and stuff like that.
mhm,
It's just very interesting because it does make these patterns that you see on these cathedrals. So it's
mhm.
like, is there something to that?
And
I don't
I
know.
think that the cathedrals were made for, like, the healing, like, if you all the organs
Totally.
that are in there if you've ever been
Mhm.
in one where they're playing the organs, you can literally feel it all
Mm.
throughout.
I've never been in
And
one like that.
so, it's like, I don't know, like, if you can literally feel it in there, it's gotta be doing something to
I
your
fully
body.
believe that all those frequencies, like, and like you're saying, like, I think that they went into those buildings and they were healed,
Mhm.
like from the vibrations.
Which is
I
why I
think
think
so.
maybe they lived longer. And obviously
Yeah.
death is it's the consequence of sin, so they still died. Obviously,
Yeah.
these people died, but I think there was probably prolonged life and
I'm sure
yeah.
they were just so much healthier. Like, I always think about now, like, how sick everybody is because of what they're spraying and what you're putting into your bodies and stuff, and
Mhm,
you know what is interesting too? This is, like, kinda random, but my, son's he's in 2nd grade, so his science workbook was showing how fruit used to be like, grapes were, like, huge and sour,
mhm,
and it
mhm,
was like, through farming, we have made them and it's trying to make it sound all good. Through farming, we have made them
mhm.
smaller and sweet, and it's like, our food was different, and so we probably needed the nutrients from the fruits and vegetables before
Oh,
they
for
were all
sure.
you know what I mean? It's just, like, all these different things, like, God gave us a way to do
Mhm.
things, and we've completely flipped everything upside
Yeah.
down and do it different, and it's like, no wonder everybody's so unhealthy.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you try your best to eat, like, God-given foods, they're different now.
They're different,
They're
which is
tainted, so
literally makes me wanna move to a different country, but I
I
guess
know.
I'll just deal with it.
I will say, like, I still just think America is sorry if you're listening from another country and you disagree, but I think it's the best country to live in. I've been to a few and, like, even just going to Mexico, I love Mexico. I love it, and the fruit is, way better there, it's crazy, like, even the flavor and everything,
Hmm,
but probably just because the climate. I live in the cold, so nothing grows as good as it
true.
should,
Mhm.
um, but by the end of it, every time, like, I have a soft spot, especially for the specific city we're in, but I just, like, every time I'm so thankful to come back to America.
I've, like, never traveled. I've only been to Mexico, and it was not a nice part, really, so
Tijuana, probably.
probably. I don't know,
Yeah,
we'd
to
go
do, like,
with you
mission.
yeah, we do, like, mission work, and then our
Mhm,
friends, like, family had a house down there, so where their
mhm.
house was nice, but you had to, like, go through,
Encinitas,
like
maybe? Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. This was in high school, and I just got in the car and went with them, but but it was, like, not nice, and I'm just like, I
Yeah,
do love America, but I've never been anywhere else, so
yeah.
can't really say anything.
Yeah, I just love America. As crazy and as dumb as our leaders and things
My
are.
husband's trying to get me to move to Ireland or, like, anywhere else, like, at all times. I'm like, "No."
I mean, don't get me wrong, the idea sounds nice, especially, like, somewhere like Spain where it's warm all the time, but
For you, you're like,
Anyways,
"Anywhere warm, thank you," as you're freezing.
I just love the heat, so
Ugh, I wish. Okay,
well,
so I wanted to okay, so all of the millennial reign happened, right? And then it ends.
mhm.
So
Which let
then
me there's 2 things I wanted to clarify.
okay.
In Revelation, it says, like, at the end of the 1,000-year reign. So it does end, and that's what makes me think it's 1,000 years. And then also when
Yeah.
Jesus is speaking about the tribulation coming, he specifically says there'll never be a time before or after like this
Mhm.
ever again. So there
Yeah.
has to be a period of time after. So just putting that
Just to
out there.
clarify, because
Yeah.
yeah, that is one thing I definitely thought when Jamie told me about the little season, I was like, "But people don't live after the tribulation, so what are you talking about?" And then it's
Mhm.
like, "Oh, they actually do." So there are people on the earth, which is very important to understand, and I think the church does not teach you that. They literally teach you, like, there's no more people. It's just the end,
It's
which
just well,
makes no
I feel like
sense.
I did hear that only because of like Left Behind. I always knew there'd be people left behind.
But then I thought they just all died, and that was
And
it.
then
That was my thought.
oh, I see. Like after the tribulation, they just died. And then it
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
hmm.
like, the whole entire world was
Yeah, I could see that.
destroyed
Okay.
is
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I was assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so Jesus well, he's still reigning, but Satan is loosed.
Mhm.
So then you have these people who are left from
Mhm.
the millennial reign
Mhm.
who know what they just lived through, and they probably know what just happened. I would assume they know. I would assume when Satan was loose, it was pretty wild, and everybody knew,
Which could be the mud floods.
which could be the mud floods.
Because
That would make sense.
I tend to think in more like literal. So I think
Yeah,
his loosing was very literal and it would have affected
that's what I'm
the earth.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so then you have these people left over. So then you look up orphan trains and insane I can't talk. Insane asylums.
Yeah.
And it's wild.
Again, this is if you watch the I don't know what the hidden history of flat earth.
Lost
We'll have
history of
to
flat earth.
the lost history of flat earth, which we'll link.
Mhm.
Can we link
Yeah,
it? Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
We'll
We'll
try.
link it. But I had never heard of orphan trains. I obviously
No.
knew insane
And
asylums
baby
existed, but I
incubators.
didn't know yeah, I didn't know about the world fairs. I didn't know
Mm-mm.
insane asylums were, like, filled. Like, I knew there was that. Like, I knew they existed, obviously, but,
But it
like,
was like
filled to the
intense.
brim.
Yeah.
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 So this
So
is one of the questions we got was like, what do you think happened to the people who lived after the rain was over? And this is
mhm.
kind of where we're at.
Yeah. So our assumption, and maybe you think different, but I think we think the same. Is that everybody's like, "Okay, Satan's loose," and then you have all these people and children left over. I think that all of the kids were then forced into the orphan like, they were orphans,
Mhm.
and
Taken
then
away from their parents.
taken away, and then all the
Mhm.
parents went to the insane asylums,
Mhm.
and everybody's just being brainwashed to, like, forget. Like, you either
Mhm.
forget or they probably killed them, would be
Killed
my
them,
guess.
yeah, and I'm sure the ways in which, we know about MK Ultra, we know about these different ways that they, like, destroy people's minds, so
Yeah.
and what is it called? Like, when they used to do, like, surgeries on the brain. Let me look
Oh,
it up real quick. I'm
I
pretty
can't
sure
even
this is what they
remember.
used to do in insane asylums. I'm
It's like what
thinking of
you,
the word, but
think about when you think about, like, old insane asylums, like, you think about
mhm,
them or, like, the electric like, in the electric chair with that thing on their head and they're getting
mhm.
shocked. Mhm.
Oh, yes, this is lobotomies where
Oh,
it
yeah.
was, a form of neurosurgical treatment for psychiatric disorder.
Mm,
Which to them, that's what's crazy is they can say whatever they want,
yeah.
and then, like, "You're insane because you think this," even though they know it's true too, but they want to shut their brain off from remembering. And like you said, I mean, with how wicked they are, I wouldn't be surprised if they just did away with the ones that didn't
I
forget.
mean, you just think about our world
Mhm.
now. Like, you think about all the obvious things in front of our faces,
Mhm,
and they straight up tell like, with everything with Charlie Kirk and Erica Kirk,
mhm,
the things happening with them are like, I can see with my eyes what's happening, but you're telling me this is happening.
mhm.
And they just expect us to believe it. So you can only imagine
Yeah,
back then, like, they really got to get these people to go with their narrative so that they can stop.
restart.
Yeah. So that they can make people forget that Jesus returned.
Mhm. Yeah, and kids, I mean, kids are easily indoctrinated, especially going through
Yeah.
that trauma of being taken from your parents, forced into labor, I'm sure, all these things. So
I'm
that's
like,
where we think those people went.
yeah, I'm trying to think about like what would it I wonder what it was like after that time. Okay, like say all these people are they're all brainwashed.
Mhm.
And then it's like, what did they think about the Bible at that point? You know, like right after. Like I
Well,
wonder
that's
what they
what's
thought.
interesting, and so we believe, like, 1776
Mhm. It's
was
kind of the timeline.
yeah, about the timeline, which if you look at the Statue of Liberty, it is so interesting that nobody ever notices that there's broken chains on him, that it's,
Mhm.
uh, Lady Liberty, even though it looks like a man, like, all these things.
And it has a like a Masonic symbol on it.
Mhm.
Lots of weird
So,
things.
like, honestly, it's just like they were rewriting. I don't even know where my train of thought was going, but during that time, like, even they call them the founding fathers, which when I started realizing that, like, about the buildings, like, it wasn't they built it, it was they founded it. So it's
Yeah.
like even the founding fathers, it's because they found this,
Mhm.
this world and they were claiming it and they were gonna rewrite history, and they did,
Mhm.
and then the Rothschilds created the school system, which indoctrinated us to believe
Mhm.
everything. They changed the medical system, they changed the Rothschilds changed
Yeah,
everything.
even the medical symbol like with the
I
snake.
know. Mhm.
And
It's on
then
the Baphomet in some of the pictures. Baphomet has the
oh,
snake, like, right here
okay.
that
And
looks
even
just
our
like that.
flag that's like the "Don't tread on me" flag with the snake, it's like,
Mhm.
why is that America's flag? A snake?
I know. Always. I
Like,
know.
I don't know, it's just like you notice these things now and you're like, "A snake is not ever really considered anything good, so
Mhm.
why are we putting that with the medical stuff in
Mhm.
America?"
Yeah, which is where, like, this is all during this time, if everything's being founded, like, even the world fairs, it makes sense because they wanted to reintroduce all these things as if they had found them.
Yeah.
They knew all this stuff, so they introduced all these things at the world fairs. I still don't really understand the incubator baby thing.
I
It's
don't
just
either, but
weird.
that really tripped me out, and it's a real thing, like, there are
It freaks
literal
me out.
articles on it. But yeah, the world fairs are so weird because it's like, okay, so they built these super grand buildings
Supposedly
for,
out
like,
of,
a
like,
year
plaster and,
no,
like, something else that was, like, incredibly easy to break down.
and then just tore them down because they didn't need them anymore.
They
Like,
didn't That's the
okay.
thing, they didn't even tear a lot of them down. Like, I just
Yeah.
went to the one in San Diego, and it's like, so these buildings that were
Mm,
never meant to stay up are just still standing. Like,
still
even the
going, yet
Eiffel
our
Tower
buildings
is
fall
one of
apart.
them. Yeah,
Yeah,
give me a break. It's just
I
so
know.
the stories they give us are just so. But that's what's the craziest part is I'm always like, "But we all believe it." Like, we hear
We
these
just
dumb.
don't think about anything.
Yeah, we just don't want to. Like, we hear these, like, stupid, like, reasonings for why all these things happen, and we're like, "Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. You could just
Yeah."
tell us anything, and we're like, "Sure."
Yeah. It's also just interesting, like, every time I look something up, it started, like, in the 1800s. You see all these new
It's
religions
bizarre.
popping up, like, everything. Everything
Literally
happens in the 1800s,
everything was invented in the 1800s, and it's like, why? Even,
which
like,
also
yeah,
makes me
like
think, like,
sports.
AI. I know that, my lunch break covers it a little bit when AI, but I think even before the time that it was, like, trademarked or whatever in his video
Mhm,
that he was talking about, I think it
mhm.
existed before then even, which is like, I think all these things have existed since the fallen angels, probably. So it's
Yeah.
like they're just being reintroduced to us when it's
Mhm,
convenient for them, you know?
mhm. I know, I wish I could remember,
Mhm.
but my husband was just reading something in the New Testament and just, like, brought up, like, something about their buildings, and he was like, "How would they have done that?" And I'm like, "Even in Bible times, like, I don't know, like, I wonder if there was more technology than we think that there
I also
was."
think, like, there was giants. So I think some of the stuff like, you see these huge cutout stones and it's like, what could they have used? But it's like, if you had
Oh,
giants who could lift more.
he was talking about how the stone like, Jesus was in the tomb and how they
Mhm.
carved the
Yeah.
tombs. Like,
Yeah.
how did they do
True.
that?
Yeah.
I was like, "That is very interesting. How did they do that?"
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
I also
weird. I
think
don't know.
they didn't have as much of, like, we have a lot of tech. I think they had a lot of technology, but it wasn't the kind that we have that dumbs us down. Like, our technology is phones
Yes.
and computers and
Yes.
TVs, things that just
Mhm.
make us mindless zombies.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like they just thought more deeply about things and how to do things because they had more time on their hands,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know? I don't
I
know.
know. I still wish we didn't have all this technology. I just think about
I
that
know.
periodically, and I'm like, "Dang, it really sucks." And it's like, how
Mhm.
far can we keep going as, like, people, and we're just
I
staring
know.
at our phones all day?
I know.
It's so stupid.
And
I hate
even
it.
for those of us who know it, it's like sometimes I'll be on there and then I'm like, "Oh
Why
my
am I on
gosh."
here?
Yeah.
Literally, why? I know, I hate it
Yes.
so much. I just miss
Yep.
the '90s. I miss the '90s
Yep.
life.
Me too. Me too.
But I mean, I
I
guess
think
that's really all.
that's pretty much everything.
Mhm.
We'll go over, let's see if there's any questions we missed real quick. Let me check it out. Um, let's see. Okay, so we answered this one. What do you think happened to those who reigned? Where is Christ now? He's still reigning. What does this mean for Christians today, and how do we live out our purpose? In my
I
opinion,
think
this has changed. Go ahead, you go for it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just gonna say, yeah, it's changed, like, how we relate to God and, like, how we view Him, to me.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like, before, I don't know, I just feel like it wasn't as real, and I just feel like it's still the same thing. It's
Mhm.
just you trust and you believe in his words rather than what your pastor is telling you. I just think
Mhm.
you trust the Holy Spirit more, and it's just different. But, like, I feel like overall, it's the same thing.
Mhm. Yeah, it doesn't change our purpose because
It
people
doesn't
still
change our
need
purpose.
Christ. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm, like, trying to think, is there anything else? But it's like, no, it really doesn't change anything.
No. And if anything, I feel like truly this has fired me and Alyssa up more. Like, we would never have started this. Like, I
Right.
there's times first of all, there's times, so you all know, we aren't always like, this isn't easy for us to do. Like,
No. We've
I feel
really
like we've been
struggled.
spiritually attacked. We also just,
Oh
like,
my gosh.
there's probably people who do podcasts that are very confident in themselves, but there's not a time that I don't watch these and I'm just like, insecure about
Mhm.
it. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like every time we come to do these, we are just praying and hoping that the Lord will use us to share his truth and not our own. And
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, I
so,
mean,
but we wouldn't have done this without realizing this. So I feel like it's pushed me more to be like, Lord, I know, like, I always thought he was real, but somehow this made me realize, no,
it's
like, he's real and I
he's
have to share
really
it.
real because I
Mhm.
think it's like we've talked about, like, before it was almost like this is like some fairy tale, this is just like
Mhm.
a story, but when you realize he actually talked to the people he was talking to, he actually came back, he
Mhm.
actually reigned, and all these things actually happened, it's like, okay, so we are part of the Bible, like, we are part of this
Mhm.
timeline,
Yeah.
and it just makes it so much more real, but yeah, it's like,
Mhm.
same for me, it's like, if Jamie didn't tell me this, I didn't question things on my own. I wasn't just like, "Oh, this seems off to me." It was like, "No, I just believed it." And so
Mhm.
it's like, I wanna be able to at least plant that seed for people to, like,
Yeah.
question and be like, "Just read your New Testament and, like, think about it,"
And
because I
just
think it's gonna be
reading
different.
with only the Holy Spirit, because that's, like, the biggest thing that I think
Yeah.
I woke up to, and Alyssa's mentioned this, before, that, like, my quiet time often was, like, a devotional, and we've said before, we don't
Mhm.
think they're wrong, but it was, like, I almost couldn't do quiet times without a devotional to guide me, and that's
Mhm.
not what the Lord intended for us. Like, he wants us to read the scriptures with the confidence that he who conquered the grave, like, lives in us and can work in
Mhm.
us and show us things.
Yeah.
But we've, like, so dumbed ourselves down, like, and I kind of think churches are at fault because 'cause they'll tell you
They
things like,
do. Yeah, they
I
are,
feel
I
like
think.
they'll be like, "It's too hard," like, "Don't start here," or "Don't start here because it's so hard to understand," and it's like, you're
Mhm.
already putting doubt in our minds that like, trust the Holy Spirit enough to guide us through those things, you
I think
know?
especially when it comes to end
Mhm.
times,
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh, let." First of all, there's 1,700 books you need to buy to read to
Mhm.
understand the end times, and it's like,
Mhm.
no, you need revelation. That's all you
Yep.
need. You don't need any
Yep.
and the Holy
In the
Spirit.
Holy
So,
Spirit. Yep.
yeah, so it's just like they're just putting these things and even still now, like I'm saying, like I'm asking family members, like, "Can you explain, like, how you view Israel, how you view the Jews,
Mhm,
and the answers that they give me are like you're going in circles trying to make something make sense, and you have
mhm.
different answers for different verses, and it's like,
Yeah.
"What?" It's just so complicated. So I feel like this way, it's like you read what the Bible says, and that's it. It's not
Mhm.
complicated. You're not having to jump through hoops.
Yeah.
So it's just so
Yeah.
much easier.
Yep, which leads me to this question. What about the things about Israel needing to be formed again in 1948? We do not agree that they needed to be formed in 1948. We believe that things were fulfilled in the scriptures already.
Yeah. Mhm.
And 1948 is very obviously a
That's
political
what I was about to say. Like, look into
thing.
1948 Israel and look into who formed that country, who was behind it, who backed it,
Mhm.
and you'll realize that was not a God thing.
And what I realize is a lot of people who are futurists believe they are not the Jews of the Bible, but they have a hard time because they still believe prophecy regarding
Mhm.
them needs to be fulfilled, so they wrestle with that. But they can
Mm.
very obviously, like, look at it and know, like, this doesn't make sense that they are God's chosen people anymore, but
Mhm.
they're trying to make it fit still their futurist mindset, whereas, like, we think it was already fulfilled and it's done, you
Right.
know?
Mhm. Totally.
Um, let's see. It's just fun. Do you think Gog and Magog are what they are hiding behind the ice wall? Probably, but also Madeline from Leaving Babylon, which we can tag her to. She goes over geography and stuff. I'm terrible with geography, and Madeline does like a
Same.
beautiful job of like she just does
Yeah.
so much research. So
Yeah.
I'd recommend her
Yeah,
page
we're
for
not the
that.
ones to come to for geography.
No, no, yeah.
Yeah.
This is why my husband does all the driving because even just in real life driving around, I hate directions. I hate all of it. Um, this question says, which New Testament should we read if all the churches now are part of the little season? I'm not really sure what you're trying to get at. I don't know if you mean like which version of the Bible.
I'm not sure either. I was wondering that.
I
Sorry.
was I was just thinking like maybe if you're referencing the Bible, I think that God is good and he is all powerful. And so even if some of the Bible versions have been tainted,
Yeah.
he's preserved the gospel and the most important things.
Right.
Um I think you could look into the Geneva. Some people are against King
Yeah.
James, but I think King James is
I
good.
feel
You
like
read ESV.
yeah, I feel like most people read King James. I
Mhm,
like ESV. What I've heard is that ESV is like the closest to King James, but it's
mm,
still in a more simplified way.
mhm.
I might get to
Yeah.
King James one day, but right now I'm gonna stick
I
with my
don't fully read
ESV.
it. I read NIV and then I will go to that for like,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, somebody says, "So there is no mark of the beast coming."
No. Not
Not in our
according to
opinion, but don't
yeah.
go getting anything stupid. Use discernment and wisdom from the Lord. If you see something
Yeah.
like
Yeah, that
I'm so natural that I just wouldn't be doing that any of that no matter what, I wouldn't be doing any of the things that they'd recommend to put in my
yeah.
body.
Yeah, basically that.
Um, I think that most of these is little season eschatology still futuristic? Um, well, yes, we still believe
Uh,
20 chapters 21 and 22 need to be fulfilled.
yeah, but we do believe most of it has already happened,
Mhm.
where
Yeah,
they believe really nothing has happened,
yeah.
right? So
Um, family members are worried this eschatology is related to seventh day. It's not. We're reading from God's word. We are not Seventh Day Adventists. So,
or Jehovah's Witness.
yes, or Jehovah's Witness. And I think that's really, I mean, that's most of them.
Yeah,
Everything else we covered already.
yeah.
So,
There are so many verses. I will post that my little chart. I
yeah,
made
I
this
think
little
it's really
chart
helpful.
when I first started looking up verses because I just wanted to write them all down.
Yeah, she did
And
a
then
great job.
it's been helpful because, yeah, I've actually sent it to a lot of people, but, yeah, I'll
Mhm.
have to post it on our page so that
Yeah.
everybody can have it. I do think I mean, if you're, like, talking to family members, I don't know, like, you just have to be okay
You have
with
to be
them.
confident and, yeah, be
Yeah,
okay
'cause
with disagreeing.
yeah, 'cause I've had some very unpleasant conversations with my family. They do not like this at all, but it's like, all I could do is, like, show you what God's word says,
Mhm.
and If you don't agree, that's fine, you know?
I also
It's
think
like
just always, like, end it bringing it back to the gospel. If you all think that the
right.
gospel is true, that's the most important thing,
Mhm.
so,
Yeah, absolutely.
um, but also if everybody so I think that's it, right?
Yeah,
Okay, if everybody we are so close, we might even be at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube,
we
but
are.
if you could please we never do this,
I
and I
know, like,
like,
subscribe,
subscribe, and
comment.
comment, we'd appreciate it.
Yes,
So,
thank you so
we're
much.
so thankful for all the new follows and just people
Definitely.
trusting us, and just thank you for trusting us, but also don't just take our word for it. Go to God's word
Yes,
and ask the Holy Spirit to reveal these things to you, so
and he will.
and he will. He is faithful, yeah.
Mhm.
All
Alright,
right.
well, thanks for joining us, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.